We got some casualties. American soldiers have been killed in the retaliation from Iran, which is, of course, going to hype up a lot of the people who really are war hungry or bloodlust filled, because this is going to be their biggest excuse they can use to attack a bunch of Iranians who they just slaughtered over like 100 of them in like a single day and all their leadership. But like a couple service members died. So we're going to be taking a look at this as the retaliation that looks like a justified defense, but it's hard to say because the culture is different and the ecosystem is not exactly protected because they're seen as different than Western natural culture that's set here.
Your national security correspondent, Courtney Cuby. Courtney, what more can you tell us about this breaking news right now? The U.S. service members who were killed. What are we learning? Do we know anything about how it happened?
Yeah, so far we know, according to U.S. Central Command, that's the military command in the Middle East, we know that at least 3 U.S. service members have been killed as part of this Operation Epic Fury. That's the airstrikes, this continuing campaign against Iran, and at least 5 others have been seriously wounded. Now, we know that others have sustained other injuries. The CENTCOM described them as shrapnel injuries and concussions as part of this. We're still trying to find out exactly where this occurred, if it was one location. What may sound familiar here, guys, is the idea of shrapnel injuries and concussions. You'll recall that when Iran struck at Al-Udeid, or excuse me, at Al-Assad Air Base in western Iraq several years ago after the U.S. killed Qasem Soleimani, there were a number of service members, dozens, in fact, who received concussions and traumatic brain injuries because of the concussive blast of the ballistic missiles that Iran launched at that base. So despite the fact that the individuals were able to get into shelters in most cases, get away from the blast, just the sheer magnitude of the ballistic missiles hitting caused some of those injuries. So it's not
A lot of the ballistic missiles, if you look at like anti-tank munitions, if it shoots towards a tank, some of them are designed to hit the outside but not penetrate the tank, so that the percussion actually hits on the other side, and its waveform of what it's like, its energy is pushed in there and kills people by turning them essentially to mush. So their main concerns are that the payloads themselves are so strong that the people even nearby are going to get injured from them.
clear at this point whether that was what happened here or not, but that could be why CENTCOM is now reporting a number of concussions. Again, we're now reporting that at least 3 U.S. troops have been killed in Operation Epic Fury. At least 5 others have sustained serious injuries. And I have to say, this is an ongoing campaign against Iran by the United States, and Iran continues to retaliate. So this is a number that we will continue to watch, but it will likely change in the coming hours and days, guys.
Courtney, we know you'll update us the moment you get more information, but picking up where you left off, we know the U.S. military had been building up its presence in the region for several weeks. I mean, just walk us through now. We're on day 2 of this, past the initial strikes on day 1. What is the U.S. military involvement right now? Do we have an idea of just how long this operation could last for American forces?
We should be thinking about this not in terms of days, but in terms of weeks at this point, if in fact
Silly they think this is going to be a weeks-long issue when it's going to be what we've seen as decades-long issue. This is going to be something that lasts for a very long time. Assassinating the leadership of Iran was not a smart thing to do. They're not like a lot of these docile other countries that just kind of take it because they're used to this concept of working with American imperialists or the CIA secretly. These are people that fight very hard. They fight the hardest they've ever fought because they believe they're fighting a culture war that's not necessarily based on culture, but religion and God, which is way different than the concept we have here when we talk about culture war because we saw a Black Mermaid or something. It's a completely different culture war of actually caring about the afterlife.
the military is expected to achieve these goals laid out by President Trump in the only time we have heard from him since this campaign began. That was a social media video that the White House posted at about 2:30 in the morning, early Saturday morning, explaining the goals that he wants for this operation. And that is the destruction of Iran's nuclear program, the destruction of their ballistic missile program, as he put it, the annihilation of their Navy. And then, of course, this ultimate goal, which is to overthrow or topple the Iranian regime there, which the President Trump called on the people there to have it play a big part in. If, in fact, the U.S. military is expected to be used for those goals, this is not a short campaign. We have already seen, as you mentioned, Joe, the U.S. military bring in the largest amount of firepower, a concentrated amount of firepower in the region in a generation. They have already unleashed hundreds of strikes against Iran in just the first 20 or
They've also released B-2 bombers to attack missile silos, and this is the same amount, if not they've increased it even more, that they had for the Middle East invasion for Afghanistan and Iraq and Syria and all the other places. So this is a full-scale war. They're ready to fight, and they're ready to fight it on a conflict of similar measures of Russia and Ukraine, which is why this is such a big moment for everyone. Nobody wants to see their sons, daughters, brothers, or sisters die in a war that could have been prevented just by having a discussion, when Iran already wanted to work out deals in discussion for what they would have seen as preventing this very scenario from happening.
32 hours or so since this began. As I mentioned, it is a sustained air campaign, and it's not just airstrikes. They are also striking from land and striking from the sea. But it's also not just about the offensive posture here. You know, I just mentioned these service members who were killed. Iran is also retaliating. They are lashing out at countries all throughout the region, trying to hit Americans, trying to hit hit the Israelis, and the U.S. is involved in the defense of that. Not just the defense of U.S. bases, but the defense of allies. And as part of that, this massive amount of U.S. military who've moved into the region in recent weeks, they are also responsible for the defensive posture that, again, as Iran continues to lash out after the U.S. and Israel began these strikes early Saturday morning, the defensive piece of this will be just as important as the offensive piece, Joe.
We thank you for watching.
This is gonna be fucking terrible. I'm sorry. This is gonna be absolutely horrible. They shouldn't have done it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, or add this video to whatever list you want to watch it again, I guess. But don't forget to like and subscribe, please. Thank you for watching.